See it played Death Ride Halfaya Pass. This is turn 3. I already did the air allocation phase. Germans rolled a 9, not good enough to get an air mission, and the British Army rolled a 5, also not good enough to get an air mission. So combat service support, reinforcement withdrawals. Again, I don't think the Germans get any reinforcements in this battle. Then we have replacements, not yet. Reorganization, not necessary. Intelligence, yes, intelligence does not play in this game at all. So I can keep skipping that step of the combat service support phase. And then supply determination. Yeah, Germans, I mean, it's obvious. Looking at the German static defense here at Halfaya Pass. I do believe unlimited supply range, so not an issue. So we're going to go into the German turn command and control phase. Everybody is in command and control, so we're going to go to the German operations phase, and we're going to see what kind of fires we can mass, see if the off-board artillery can be effective, and some targets are... Actually, we still don't have targets that have come into view for direct fire, but we'll make one more check on that as well. Okay, so for the first phase of this operation here, first the off-board heavy artillery unit there, German artillery unit, fired at the AT platoon there, and got a suppression 2. So that's the first suppression 2, which is added now to red, because there was a green 1 on there already. They're kept separate. So a red 2 goes on there. Then, oh yeah, that's what I talked about there. And then 3, the German anti-aircraft platoon up there. It's on level 2 there. Fired primary. So I marked it fired primary. Down at the AT platoon again. Actually, I should note this. So when the off-board field artillery hit it first, its defense is printed 2 plus 1 for its suppression level for 3, and then after it got a 2 like that, then when the anti-aircraft platoon fired, the defense is 2 plus 1 for 3 plus 2 for 5. So it was, the anti-aircraft platoon was firing against a defense of 5. They were rolled well and got a 2. So actually, you might say, in a sense the 2 red 5s would combined, but now a red 5 plus a green 1, whenever you have a combination of any suppression, red or green, that totals more than 4, the unit's eliminated. So the first platoon in the battle has been eliminated due entirely to suppression as opposed to an X result. So that's the first casualty there. Put it all right. So yeah, and what this does now is that it opens up, for line of sight purposes, it opens up the next line, and the next line are soft targets, but these infantry companies still have a defense value of 24. I'm a little bit off the, talking about these ones right here. All right, so, but it does open them up. So now Germans can see what they can do at this point against the next line. Excuse me. Okay, let's see if I can go through all this in order. Okay, 1. The number 1 is off screen. Yeah, the remaining two off-board field artillery batteries combine their fire, mass their fire to try to suppress one of the infantry companies advancing from the east, but they rolled miserably and failed in that, and so they are now fire complete and marked fire complete. Okay, that's all again off screen. Okay, number 2 right here. What was number 2? What was number 2? What was number 2? I think number 2 might have been that I can't remember. But I think it might have been the fact that I want to do some indirect fire, and the question is, can either of these anti-air platoons observe for the field artillery? So there's a field artillery platoon here and a field artillery platoon here. They're platoons 3 and 4 of Echo Company, 1st Battalion, 104th Panzer Grenadier. But these two anti-air platoons are the 33rd Anti-Aircraft, or AA, guess that would be regiment, I believe. Flak Battalion. That doesn't look right. No, it's 1st Flak Battalion, 33rd Anti-Air, probably be regiment, I think. I'm guessing. But it's 1st Flak Battalion. Okay. And I don't think so. I don't think that they can observe for these field artillery platoons, and that's because these field artillery platoons are inside part of the 104th Panzer Grenadier. So I think that they can fire. They're also part of a separate, part of a separate Echo Company, which does not mean that they're limited to firing for Echo Company, but I think they are limited for firing for the 1st Battalion, 104th Panzer Grenadier. I think. Actually, I'm not convinced of that. I think so. I'm going with that for now. Okay, number 3, so yes. Number 3 is I want this field artillery platoon to fire down on the advancing British here. Okay, they can observe for themselves straight. They actually don't need an observer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11. Yep, they can see the engineers right in the center there. Now, so they're my base of fire. Okay, looking at the advancing British here, I noticed the engineer platoon here, and basically, if you look over here on the escarpment, a road enters the escarpment here, and a road exits the escarpment over here off the screen, the road. The only way for the British tanks here, and back here, the only way for these British tanks to get up onto the escarpment and participate close range, close combat in the fight up here is to enter the escarpment from the road. Those tanks are not at all, yes, they are not allowed to climb the escarpment, but they can by road. So only 2 entry points, and actually it's basically a wall. There is no gap. So actually these tank platoons that start on this side of the escarpment can only enter here. Likewise for these 2 tank platoons over here, they can only enter the road down here that enters the escarpment. Okay, so the Germans put a minefield at each of those entry points to the escarpment. For example, this minefield here is on the road before it enters the escarpment there. So bottom line is, I'm thinking as the Germans, I want to take out those engineers so that the British have trouble clearing the minefields for the tanks. And that made me wonder. There's an engineer platoon and there's an infantry company in the same hex. Interestingly enough, I don't see anything that says I can't target that platoon, which is interesting, but okay, I guess the hexes are a third of a kilometer across. Maybe the observers can figure out who's who. Maybe they can identify the engineer platoon separately from the infantry company. I don't know, not sure about that. But rules-wise, I guess I can target who I want. So I'm going to target the engineer platoon there. Okay, so that's that. Hey, wait, how did I skip? Well, that's all that. That's what that all was about. 4 over here. Basically, I first thought, hey, I'm going to have this heavy weapons. I'll say heavy weapons mortar platoon. The rules don't use that term, but this goes back to what I was talking about before about heavy weapons units that have only direct fire capability and heavy weapons platoons that have both direct and indirect fire. I'm going to say heavy weapons mortar platoon, meaning heavy weapons plus mortars platoon. Okay, I wanted this one to join in. I don't think that he can, because that is 4th Platoon of Charlie Company, 1st Battalion 104th Panzer Grenadier. I think that platoon is limited to supporting Charlie Company. I believe. That's what I think. So he can, and all of Charlie Company is there, and those British are beyond the visibility range, and so they can't fire. What do we have? Okay, number 5 here. Now there is another. Now, conversely, there is another field artillery platoon over here. Yeah, that's what I talked about before. 3rd and 4th platoons Echo. I think they can combine fire, which is interesting because can this field artillery platoon serve as the observer for this one? I guess they can. It doesn't matter because technically the infantry below it could serve as the observer, I believe, for this field artillery platoon. But still, even if that infantry wasn't there, I guess, okay, so these 2 field artillery platoons are going to fire together. I guess I don't see why this field artillery platoon couldn't serve as the observer for this field artillery platoon. But that's how I played it. So they combined their fire. They combined their fire and dropped it down there. Again, there, plus artillery against a soft target, the engineers in the open there, at long range is ×2. So they doubled their primary weapon factor, and they could have had some really good. Well, actually, it wasn't. Well, yeah, I guess the only. Wait, I'm talking to myself. Yeah, I see a 20% chance of an X result and eliminating the platoon outright. So we got the next best result on this column, and that's a S3, so that's good. So the engineer platoon winds up with a suppression 3 level, not bad, because they of course will I can attempt to compound that suppression. Yeah, they rolled a 7. Now they rolled a 7 and it was +1. I think that's what this number 7 is. I think is okay. They rolled a 7, but I assessed it as an 8. I added +1 for being a higher elevation, and I was thinking, does higher elevation for indirect fire make sense in this case? On the one hand, it's plunging fire. On the other hand, maybe the scale and scope is too far out to really consider plunging fire, so I put that aside. And now I'm thinking maybe being at a higher elevation for this indirect fire means that they have a better observation on the target. And so that's what I'm going with, because I can't see that the +1 for higher elevation doesn't apply. So they got an 8. So that was the S3, and now they are. So now they are going to be primary, fired primary, like that. Actually, I guess, well, I'll go through all this, but I guess this is all going to come off at the end of this. Oh. We're back to the issue of, are they considered fire complete like an artillery unit? They aren't. No. We are back to that issue. And what did I decide? No, I can't remember what I decided. I think I decided that they are not fire complete. Like a field, like a no. Well, yeah, they're no. These aren't field artillery. Why was I saying that? These are not field artillery, so they're not fire complete. I guess. I guess that's. I'm supposed to go with that. Okay. Actually, I think that's all the Germans can do. Certainly all that I will do. So, yeah. So actually, all of these information counters are going to come off except for the fire complete on the off-board field artillery batteries. And then that will end the Germans' operations phase for this turn.